Hi everyone, I'm the plant propagator and welcome to my channel. Today I've got a little bit of a relaxing video for you, and this is because I was out in my orchid area yesterday and I wanted to see what type of activity I had around my Encyclia tampensis plants. So I just sat in the yard. I took this chair, put it right where the camera is, maybe a little closer, and watched to see what was flying around my Encyclia tampensis plants that I have. So as you know, a lot of my tampensis are blooming. It's a great time of the year for them. They're doing well. There's fragrance associated with it. It's not the classical Cattleya type sweet fragrance, but there is a fragrance associated with it. And what happens is, and what I wanted to see, is the attraction of pollinators. I did also notice that on my tampensis plants, I have, especially on this plant, this is my largest one, and this is the one I should say that I focused on. There's a lot of seed capsules that are starting to form. So there was some pollination that was going on, and I wanted to see if I could catch any of the pollinators in action. So like I said, I just sat down in my chair in the yard, and it was a warm day like it is today, but it was windy and it was nice. And after a while, I'm sitting there, I'm relaxing, I'm noticing the things around me, and I thought I wanted to share this with you. So I decided to pull out my camera and start collecting little clips of videos of things that were going on in the area and activities, and share those with you and see if you liked it or not. To back up a little bit, Encyclia tampensis is it's named tampensis because it was discovered in Tampa, Florida, which is a little bit north of here. So it is a native orchid, and actually all of these orchids here, all of these Encyclia tampensis orchids that I have are either wild. This one is wild collection, just because you can't do this normally, but it was growing on a neighbor's tree. This one right here. It was growing on a neighbor's tree, and it was too close to the house. She had to take the tree down. It was causing some issues, so she called me up and I grabbed it. And then the other ones are progeny plants that a colleague collected, and it's the same type of thing because he's a contractor, and because there was some construction work being done, they always call him in if they're taking down trees on a construction site, and he usually scours those trees for orchids, and he found the parent plant of this and this, and actually gave me the progeny capsule from the progeny. So these are native or progeny of native wild Encyclia tampensis. The other name for this is Encyclia tampensis is either the Florida butterfly orchid or the Tampa butterfly orchid. And it's called the butterfly orchid not because it attracts butterflies, but because the flower is supposed to remind you of butterflies. Now, I'm not really sure that's the case, and I did get butterflies that visited this orchid behind me, so that's really interesting. So what I want to do is kind of tell you a little bit about what type of visitors I saw on this orchid, and some of it I recorded, and some of the visitors were small, but I recorded all of them, and I just wanted to share that with you. And then I also have some other general videos as I was sitting here. For example, as I was sitting right there, with it was just a gentle breeze, I caught a really nice scent in the air, and I'm looking around. It wasn't tampensis. Every orchid has its own characteristic scent. It wasn't this. It wasn't any. So I've got a Sherry Baby chocolate smell. It wasn't chocolate oncidium that was growing back there. It wasn't actually this Alamanda vine that is behind me. It wasn't that. But I recognized the scent, and so I looked around and I saw that it was Maui plum. a cattleya that I have growing in my pergola that it was probably like 15 feet away from it. So really intense spray, and I smelled it, and it was wonderful. And I just, again, I was relaxing, and I just wanted to share that and other things with you. So what type of pollinators did I see on this plant, and what was I able to record? Well, it's called a butterfly orchid, so I was real surprised and happy to see a zebra butterfly that was flying. I get a lot of butterflies in my area, and we may even have, well, there just went one there. Didn't see it, wasn't on camera. But there's a lot of butterflies that come through my backyard, and this is a zebra. They're really common. They're beautiful tropical butterflies, and it actually landed on this plant behind me. Now, I don't know what it was doing. I didn't get a chance to watch it, and usually with the pollinators, they come in there and they do what they do, and usually for them it's collect pollen or nectar, and then they take off pretty quickly. So I did see a butterfly that came on this plant. I also saw a small, really fast-moving, small gray butterfly, and I couldn't tell what it is, so I'm going to put a frame here and highlight the butterfly. But it's really difficult to see, and when it took off, it was out of frame. From one frame to the other, it was in there, and then a blur, and then it was out of frame. So I couldn't even tell what it was. The main thing that I saw hovering around these plants that I'm seeing hovering around now, you have small bees that come around here. So the other thing that I noticed is, as I'm sitting here, there were honeybees or small bees that were flying around, and I didn't think honeybees, they might pollinate it. I don't know whether they do or not. But as I looked up in my Christmas palms, that are the palm trees there and there, my palm trees are flowering. And there's no really fragrance associated with that for the most part. But there's a lot of flowers, and they put out a lot of pollen, so they really do attract the honeybees. And the honeybees kind of filter down to this area, and they may be either flying around the plants. I didn't see any of the honeybees land on any of the flowers, so it may be that they were flying around. They might have sensed something close by in the air, but I don't know. I don't know if they really pollinate anything. But there were some small bees that did land on these, on this tampensis, and I was happy to be able to see that and film the event. But there's a lot of things that are buzzing around this plant. There were also, in one of the flowers that I saw on this plant, there was what appeared to be something that tried to go in the flower and get the nectar and the pollen, but got stuck there. And you can see here, it looks like a black abdomen of an insect that got stuck in this flower. And as you look at this next flower, this is what this should look like. So you can see the anther cap, and then potentially the yellow pollinia behind that. So sometime, and this is really common in the orchid area because the stigmatic surface on the orchid flower is so sticky, is that you get insects that will go in there and get stuck. And it's sad, but that's what they do. And a lot of times they're already carrying pollinia from another flower, and they'll cause pollination. The other thing that I noticed, and I did get a good video of this, was a wasp. So these are also wasp pollinated. So there was a wasp that landed and seemed to get into the flower and collect whatever it was collecting. The other thing, when I looked this up, what are the pollinators of Encyclia tampensis? It's flies. So flies pollinate these flowers too. It has kind of, this tampensis has kind of a wild flower scent associated with it, and potentially the flies are attracted to that also. So there were a lot of flies around, and I saw some flies landing on areas adjacent to the flower. They may produce nectar from other parts of the flower stalk and of the plant as well. So those were there too. You always see a lot of ants crawling on all of my orchids, and so I don't know whether those were there as well and are actively pollinating. The pollinia is they're not as, you know, the pollinia is way smaller than an ant, but I don't know if ants will transfer pollinia from one flower to the other, or even self-pollinate this flower. So I've showed you some videos. I want to kind of be quiet for a while and show you some more videos of you know, the insects flying around the plant in my adjacent area. I should say, I'm sorry, I said I was going to be quiet, but it's hard for me. The other thing that I saw as I was sitting here is I saw anoles, or anoles. Those are the lizards, and they're Cuban anoles. The native anoles in this area are green. I have seen some of those in this area, but most of the anoles that are here, or anoles, are brown, and those are Cuban anoles, and they've pretty much wiped out the native population, but they're really fun to watch, and they're here. So as I was looking around, I looked around over in this area there, and I noticed that I have one of my orchids that is about to bloom. I've got some flowers that are about to open probably in a few days on young Kong. And that was nice. And then there's an anole just kind of sunning himself, even though it wasn't in the sun, but just kind of hanging out on my fence and kind of looking around and wondering what's going on. I used, as a kid, I had these as pets. I had the green anole as a pet, and they eat flies, insects, things like that, and they're fun for a young boy to have as a pet. They don't last very long in the Midwest, but I had one, and there are a lot of them here, and I like them. The other thing is that I was watching the plant behind me. If I looked further up on the small pergola behind me, there was a larger anole that was also kind of showing his territory, and doing the head bob and the throat and things like that, and that was kind of fun to see as well. And both of these guys, they hung around for a little while. And then they just kind of disappeared. You look away and they disappear, or they just go away. All right, so now I'm going to shut up and let you watch some of these other videos, and just kind of relax and enjoy yourself. Okay, and I hope you enjoyed that. So now as we're back, as we took a look at those flying insects and some of the other sights that I could see in my garden on my very relaxing day, and as the wind is picking up here, I should say it just rained this morning. Usually we get rain, and during rainy season we get rain in the afternoon. It rained this morning, and so it cooled off, which was nice. But then what happens is the sun comes out and the humidity gets jacked up, and it's uncomfortable. So it's nice that there's a little bit of a breeze here. But I did want to point out one other pollinator that I failed to mention for my Encyclia tampensis plants, and that is the pollinator. You can tell you have a pollination from this unusual pollinator, because they leave clues to what they did. So I think it's on. Oh, it's on this plant right here. So this plant, this is my my rescue, and this is the clue that the pollinator left behind on this plant, and this the pollinator's me, and so I tagged this flower. Yeah, it does look like it was a successful pollination. What happens on this when you see these is that the base of the flower turns green and swells, and usually the flower itself shrinks down. So that's what you can see in the flowers to know that there's been a successful pollination. So I just did this just a few days ago, so it really hasn't faded that much, but it looks like the flower here is a little bit more swollen, and you should have noticed that in some of the other videos that I have, and that was what I was pointing at with my finger in one of those videos, was the capsule that was just starting to form. Again, very early on. It's going to take 5 or 6 months for this capsule to mature for me to get seeds out of it, but I'm hoping with all of the tampensis, and this is just a small amount of the tampensis plants that I have that are mostly blooming. I only pollinated a few because I think the insects took care of a lot of them on the plants that I have in my collection. All right, so I hope you enjoyed my video. I hope you were able to relax as much as I did as when I was putting the pieces and parts together. You know, some days you just have to do that. Like I said, I sat out here for about an hour and just kind of watched. Didn't have the camera running the whole time, obviously, but it was just relaxing, and I hope you enjoyed it and that it was okay that I share with you. All right, that's all I have for today. Again, I hope you enjoyed my video. If you did and you want to keep on seeing them, it would help me out if you could click on like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already a subscriber. All right, that's all I have. Again, I hope you enjoyed it, and happy propagating.